Apple has just blown my mind with their brand new silicon MacBooks. Like they just, like 5 seconds ago, the presentation ended where they showed their brand new M1 chip, which is, it's pretty impressive. But what we're gonna do today is they announced the brand new model of my favorite computer ever made, the MacBook Pro 13. Let's find out what they actually did to it and which options would I recommend if you're looking to order this like day of, because you can order it right now. Let's find out. I don't want to slam it because we might break it. What's up, everyone? I'm the Everyday Dad, and if I can figure it out, you can figure it out. So I am exceedingly excited about this, and let's just get straight to it because their presentation today, Apple always puts on a fantastic presentation, and today's was no different. So what I really want to get across is the MacBook Pro 13 is everybody's like intro into the MacBook. Normally the problem with small size laptops is that small size does not do well with thermal performance, but check this out. It's the Apple M1 chip with up to a 2.8 times CPU performance, up to 5 times faster graphics speed, and they do this with the same fan. It looks like it's using the same body from the base model MacBook Pro 13 from last year. We'll go through this from top to bottom, then we'll cover the purchasing options. So it is supercharged by the Apple M1, and hopefully they'll go into this because it looks like it's gonna supercharge it. Without getting into a bunch of technical like nerd talk, the M1, which is an Apple Silicon chip, is an 8-core CPU with an 8-core GPU. For example, this MacBook Pro 16, which has the top of the line Intel i9 in it, is an 8-core CPU. They could be having the same kind of power that you get on these very expensive big bodies with the little one. Very exciting about it. It also has that high core count neural engine, wild stuff. So we did say it's got an 8-core CPU, but the way that they have this laid out, and you're not going to use all 8 cores at once. It looks like the way from their presentation, you'll have 4 cores that are high efficiency cores, which is what you'll use when you're just like browsing the internet, stuff like that. But you also have 4 high power cores for when you do things like video editing or other things like coding or other processes that need heavy and high intensive multi-core capabilities. And it's got an 8-core GPU. So this is what's really exciting. Like all these small computers, right? The MacBook Pro 13 from last year kind of had like sort of a GPU in its T2 security chip, which it wasn't actually a GPU, but it did video transcoding things on the side. This is like taking that and putting it up to 11. They're saying it will deliver a 5x boost in graphics performance. How does it do it? 8 dedicated graphics cores. It's gonna play back 8K video. I don't shoot in 8K. Maybe we should start shooting in 8K so we can take advantage for this. 5.9 times render speed in Final Cut Pro X. So I might need to switch back to Final Cut Pro X when we start doing this again. Machine learning is the future, and this will have a 16-core neural engine. It's also got macOS Big Sur. I have not yet updated to macOS Big Sur. Obviously, when this ships with it, we'll be updating then, so hooray. Another cool thing with Apple Silicon and macOS Big Sur is we are gonna have like apps on our phone that we're gonna be able to run on our MacBooks. That's gonna be crazy. That's gonna be crazy. But the thing, okay, here's the most important part. Here's the big takeaway for today, and the thing that will really make or break this system, the thermal performance. If you've ever used a laptop, the most important thing that a laptop has to do is it has to be properly thermally managed. That's where the current Intel version of the MacBook Air fails. It has a fan that's not connected to anything, thereby meaning that it's not cooled at all, and you'll see thermal problems very quickly on earlier this year's model of the MacBook Air. But now we've got thermal efficiency with the Apple Silicon, and my iPad does not have a fan, and it never even gets warm. And check it out. Look at that little fan demonstration. Very excited. The way that their new chip handles memory is different than how past computers handled like random access memory. So how does it work? That's something we'll have to figure out as we get up to it. We can also have up to 2 terabytes of solid state drive, which for a portable little travel Ultrabook, you're gonna pay for it though. Oh, you're gonna pay for that. No, it's not coming free. Retina display will have a pretty similar Retina display. It'll have P3 color, 500 nits of brightness, that's pretty good. True Tone, I'm not a big fan of True Tone. There's gonna be a new image signal processor for their camera, so it should look better. What that's telling me is it's still a 720p camera that they haven't updated their camera at all. They've just updated how the computer processes that image, which should hopefully give you better, because the current, even the MacBook Pro 16 right now, that webcam, not good. And you know what? We're all in web conferencing period now. Like all my meetings are web conferences anymore. You got to take care of that. And if they couldn't change the hardware, at least they were able to change the software a little bit. FaceTime HD camera. I just said it already. They're going to have the 3 mic array. And then I think that's going to be a lot like the MacBook Pro 16, which is, I mean, it's pretty good. Magic keyboard. Touch bar. That's not good or bad. I do really like the Magic Keyboard though, and we'll continue talking about typing because typing is what I'm all about. Looks like we're gonna get Wi-Fi 6 and Thunderbolt and USB 4. That's gonna be pretty good. Thunderbolt 4, in my understanding, is not necessarily faster than Thunderbolt 3. It just allows for a different way for the signal to be sent, and it allows for a wider variety of equipment. So very excited to see that. The thing that I'm not as excited about though, and we'll see when we talk about which model should we buy, it only has the 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports. It's not like the top of the line MacBook Pro 13 from earlier in the year where it had 4 Thunderbolt ports. So you are kind of taking a step back for that. It's not a deal breaker. With as versatile as Thunderbolt 3 and 4 is, it's not a deal breaker, but it would have been nice to have 4, because then you could have had opposite sides. I wish if they're gonna have 2, at least have 1 on each side. Okay, and it looks like we can compare all the Mac models, and that looks like we're at the end. So the big takeaways from the MacBook Pro 13, the M1 chip looks like it's going to be crazy. And it looks like on the MacBook Pro 13 and probably on the Mac Mini, again, we'll talk about in a future video, it looks like they're gonna have to restrain the chip a little bit on the MacBook Air, but on the MacBook Pro 13 and the Mac Mini, because it has active cooling, they're just gonna be able to let it run rampant. Let's check out the tech specs real quick. Finished silver space gray, this is the main options we ever get. It starts off at $12.99 and $14.99. I'm not sure what the price difference is, but we'll check that in a second. We do see the Retina display, the Apple M1 chip. The battery life looks like it's gonna be wild. 17 hours for wireless web and up to 20 hours of video playback. It's gonna be crazy. You get 8 GB standard unified memory. 8 GB of normal RAM is slow, but we'll have to see how that unified memory works under the Apple Silicon. It could be way faster. Like, it seems low right now, but we'll have to see before we say whether it is low or not. Now the storage though, that's pretty low. For $12.99, 256 GB, I would have loved to have seen that bumped up to 512, but let's see. Yep, Thunderbolt 4. Okay, so let's talk about which ones should we buy. Which one am I going to buy, because the MacBook Pro 13 is my absolute favorite. So we've got the 2 base models. Looks like they both have the same power for their CPU, both the same power with the GPU. It looks like the big difference is storage. Is that it? M1, 16 core, 8 GB, 256 versus 516, Touch ID. It looks like the only difference is going to be the storage, but then why not just have it under 1? I don't know why they would differentiate it like that, because it looks like we have the option to upgrade to 16 GB of unified memory. We can also upgrade up to that 2 TB solid state drive. Final Cut Pro X, yeah. Why? I don't understand why they would have it separate like that. When that, maybe they just wanted to make sure that they had 2 models. I don't know, but what is confusing is where it says 2 Thunderbolt 3 USB 4 ports. That does not mean there are 4 ports. There are 2 Thunderbolt and USB 4 ports. So don't be confused by that. So which one am I actually, spoiler alert, I already bought mine before we did this because I was way too excited. So which one did I buy and which one would I recommend? If you're looking for a pro computer, I would recommend, obviously, at least, you want to get the most amount of storage that you can comfortably afford. Don't buy more than you can afford, but buy as much storage as you can. If you're not looking for like a pro device, maybe I would recommend the MacBook Air, which actually seems useful now. We'll talk about that in tomorrow's video. I did get the 16 GB of unified memory and I got the 1 TB solid state drive, bringing my total to $18.99. For a laptop, that's pretty expensive, and you can get a base model 16-inch refurbished for around that price. So is it worth spending that much? We'll have to see. But I do trust in Apple Silicon. If you've seen anything with the iPad Air, the iPad Pro, those things are wildly powerful computers. And now we're taking that technology, we're upscaling it, and we're putting it into an actual computer with an actual like power system, active cooling. I cannot wait to see it. But what would you like to see? It looks like this MacBook's gonna be here next week, so leave me a comment below and let me know, what would you like to see out of the brand new MacBook Pro 13? I am very excited to check it out. And if you like this video and you're curious to see how powerful an Apple Silicon chip actually can be, here's my video where we use the iPad Air 4 as a video editing computer. No fan, none of that, and it's still very powerful. You can check that out by clicking right here. Click, 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 click. Thanks for watching.